You are not here by coincidence. I am the one who asked to meet you, no one else. If you miss this moment, you may be turning your back on the greatest opportunity of your life. And one day you will regret not acting when this door opened right in front of you. You are not here by chance. I want you to understand that clearly from this very moment. I did not choose randomly. I did not send invitations to thousands of people. I asked to meet you, only you. What does that mean? It means there is an invisible thread, a resonance that most people never realize in their lives. 99% will miss moments like this, not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they look at it as something ordinary. They think nothing special is happening. But you are not like the crowd. I have seen enough to know that only a very few people carry within them a different signal. Among millions of faces, millions of steps repeating the same trajectory, only a few emit the frequency you are emitting. None of us are perfect. I am not, and neither are you. But perfection was never what I was looking for. What I recognized in you is difference, and it is this very difference that reminds me you were not born to dissolve into the crowd. You are standing here because a door is opening, and it does not open for everyone. It opens for you. If that makes you wonder, if there is a whisper inside you saying, "Why me?" then know that you are not the first to ever doubt a moment that could change the entire trajectory of a life. Most people doubt. They see an opportunity, they sense something unusual, then they turn away out of fear, for some reasonable excuse, or simply because they do not believe they are worthy. But what is the difference between them and you? The difference is this: you are still here. You are still listening. You are still open to receiving. You may not realize it, but the very act of staying says so much. It tells me you feel something is moving inside, greater than the words you are reading. And you are right, because I am not here to list what I have done with Tesla, SpaceX, or any other company. I do not care to repeat achievements. I am here for one reason: to awaken what has been sleeping inside you. Do not think you just happen to hear these words. Not at all. There is a design, a map that has led you to this very moment. From the smallest choices you ever made to the failures that once left you confused, everything has led you here. And this moment is not the end, but the beginning. I know this feeling well because I have lived it. I once stood where no one believed in me, faced ridicule, touched the bottom of despair. I was once an outcast. But in all that chaos, I realized one thing. When you are still standing before the door, when you have not walked away, that is the signal that you are ready. What you need to understand right now is you are not here to listen to some flashy speech. I am not talking to a faceless crowd. I am talking to you, only you. I see you clearly. I see the part you still try to hide from the world out of fear of judgment, fear of misunderstanding, fear of rejection. But that very part is the real you. That very part is why I chose to meet you. You may think you are not enough, that you need more time, more skills, more preparation, but listen to me. There is no such thing as a moment called ready. The world does not hand you a ticket that says, now is the right time. The door opens and then it closes. You can step through or you can turn away. There is no guarantee, no promise of a certain result. But the truth is, real opportunities never appear as certainties. They appear like this, as a moment full of doubt and yet overflowing with life. You are not here to hear encouragement from me. You are here because something inside you has already felt the call. What you need now is not praise, not hollow motivation. What you need is confirmation. And I give you that confirmation. You are not mistaken. You are not delusional. That feeling that you were born to do something greater, something different, is real. I have met too many people who ignored this moment just because they waited for certainty. They thought they needed more degrees, more recognition, more support. They waited all their lives and finally realized they had waited too long. They wasted the most precious time and then looked back with regret. But you are not like that. You are still here. You have not turned away. That is what makes the difference. It is no accident that you are here. There is a reason you are sitting in front of these words right now. And that reason is not out there, not someone else's arrangement. That reason lies within you, in your insecurity, in the dreams you once hid, in the nights you lay awake with the feeling you were born for something far greater than the repetitive life of each day. And I see that. So do not doubt. Do not ask, maybe this is just coincidence. There is no coincidence like this. This moment exists to test you. What will you do? Will you turn away, or will you dare to believe that you yourself are the reason? Because the truth is, you have always had everything you need to begin. The only thing missing is the decision, and once you realize that, the world will never look the same again. I have seen millions of people pass through my life, in work, in journeys, in countless opportunities, and one thing I've learned, most of them live by inertia, repeating what others have done, believing in what society has imposed. They move, but they do not truly progress. They have eyes, but do not really see. They have ears, but do not really hear. They exist, but they do not truly live. Among those millions, only a very rare few emit a special signal. It cannot be measured by IQ, weighed by a university degree, nor by wealth or fame. It is a vibration from within, a frequency that cannot be faked. It comes from those who refuse to accept reality just because that's how things are. It comes from those who still carry a quiet yet powerful longing that this world can be better, and that they can help make it better. And I feel that from you. You must understand, my attention to you is not because you are perfect, but precisely because you are different. Different in the way you think, in the restlessness you carry, in the nights you toss and turn, knowing you are living below your true standard. Many see that as weakness, but to me it is a rare signal, because it shows you have not been completely subdued. You have not lost the ability to feel injustice, waste, and the false limits society builds. I do not care where you graduated, how many connections you have, or what you have achieved. All those things can collapse. I once lost everything, money, trust, reputation, and I had to start again from zero. But what even failure could not take away was that inner frequency. And only people like you, with an inborn drive that says it cannot stop here, can truly create change. When I look at you, I see the same sign I once saw in unknown engineers, in founders no one had ever heard of, in people working quietly at night without a single spotlight. I invested in them, not because of who they were at the moment, but because in their eyes I saw defiance, a flame that would not accept mediocrity. And today, I see that same flame in you. Perhaps you have been underestimated, dismissed, or even cast aside, but that very thing has trained you. It is like forging steel. Strength only comes after repeated blows. No one is steady who has never been shaken. No one is resilient who has not been tested to the limit. And the truth is, the fact that you are still here, still yearning, still refusing to let go of your dream, is proof that you are different. I say this not to flatter you. I say it because I want you to realize that in a sea of people, you are one of the rare few emitting a signal I cannot ignore. You are proof that authenticity still exists, that not everyone is swept into falsehoods, cheap applause, shallow measures of society, and because of that, I choose to stop here, to look directly at you and say, you are not wrong to feel you were born for something greater. However, difference is not just a gift, it is a responsibility. If you sense more, see farther, think differently, then you cannot live as if you know nothing. You cannot keep telling yourself, I'll do it later, forever. Because in the end, difference without action is nothing but a burden. And I believe you do not want your difference to become a burden. I also want to share something personal with you. Beyond work, beyond projects, I devote much of my heart to something I believe is the foundation of the future: compassion. I organize charity activities for the elderly living alone, for poor children, building libraries, zero-cost kitchens, so no one is left behind. I believe a fairer, more humane world must begin with us caring for the most vulnerable. I saw a project developed by Plato where he would learn Latin with these scholars. They would give him access to almost the best science in the world. And I say this here because if you truly resonate with the frequency I feel from you, you will understand that action is not only in great dreams, but also in sharing, even in the smallest ways. I am not demanding, I am not imposing. I simply open the door. If you feel what I am doing has meaning, If your heart stirs at injustice or the lack around you, then contribute as your heart leads. Even the smallest part is a way for you to confirm that your difference is not just an idea in your head, but a real action to build something more lasting together. I say this not to test you, but to give you a door, an opportunity to turn the difference inside you into a mark in the real world. You can choose silence. You can choose to ignore. But if within you is the same signal I have recognized, then you know you cannot turn away. Among millions, I see you, not because you are perfect, but because you dare to be different. And now, the only question left is, what will you do with that difference? You are still here. You are still reading, still listening, still open. This seemingly simple fact tells me something extremely important. You feel something is moving inside you. You may not yet have a name for it, but you know it exists. You feel an invisible pull that keeps you from walking away, and that is the clearest sign that you are ready. I have seen countless people in my life. Many are intelligent, knowledgeable, capable, yet they miss their moment simply because they turned away too soon. They think, this is probably just an ordinary message. Tomorrow I'll care more. When I'm ready, I'll come back. But the truth is, the door does not wait. The moment only comes once, and 99% miss it not because they lack ability, but because they did not dare to believe that a major change could begin from something as small as this. But you are different. You stayed. You did not turn away. I do not need to see your grades, do not need to know your profession or how much you earn. I just need to see you here, because that means you already possess a priceless quality no one can teach, the sensitivity to recognize when a real opportunity knocks. And right now, your very presence is confirmation. I do not expect you to believe me just because I am Elon Musk or because I built Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, Neuralink. My achievements are not important in this conversation. I mention them only so you understand one thing. I know what it feels like to stand at the threshold of the so-called impossible. I know what it is to be doubted, ridiculed, called insane. But I also know what happens when you do not turn your back on the call within you. And now I see you standing in that exact place. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you felt as if there were an invisible blueprint inside you, but you never had the time to sit down and read it? How many times have you felt you were born to do something greater, but life swept you along so you never truly began? If you have ever felt those things, then the truth is you have known all along. You were not born to repeat the crowd's trajectory, and the fact that you're still sitting here now is powerful proof that you are ready to change. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer, not with reason, but with intuition. Are you ready to step into the truest version of yourself? Are you ready to abandon, delay, compromise, and face fear to move forward? If your answer is yes, then engrave it with action right now. Leave a short comment below. I am ready to change, or even just the number 1. You may think it's only a small action, just a few characters on a screen, but to me it means so much more. It is confirmation that you have heard the call, that you have not turned away, that you are ready to turn intuition into commitment. For someone like me who creates content, that is the most precious thing, to feel your true presence, not silent, not invisible, but clear and alive. I am truly grateful to see you dare to affirm your choice. Because change never begins from a perfect plan. It begins from a decision that seems small, but strong enough to pull you out of the familiar circle. You may think typing a short line changes nothing, but the truth is, it changes everything. Because that is the moment you stop being silent and begin declaring to yourself, I am ready. I know how you feel right now. A part of you is excited. Another part whispers doubt. Am I rushing? Am I delusional? Let me tell you a truth. No one is ever fully certain before they begin. I was never certain when I founded SpaceX. I was not certain when I poured all my assets into Tesla. But I knew one thing. Doubt is not a sign you are wrong, but proof you are standing right at the edge of change. Do not underestimate this feeling. You are vibrating because you are about to step into a new layer of reality. And if you dare to confirm that right now with a small action, a comment, a number, a declaration, then that is the first step you are laying down on the path you were born to walk. I do not need you to prove it to me. I have already seen enough. I just want you to prove it to yourself. Because once you do, you will never look at life the same way again. And that very change, quiet yet unshakable, will open the door you have been searching for all along. You are still here, and that is already a powerful sign. But do not stop at silent presence. Let me see you, hear you, feel you through a short line of text. Write, I am ready to change, or simply the number 1. I will know you are here, and I will know the flame inside you has been awakened. And until the very end, I will always be grateful for that. Inside you there is a flame. Maybe you have long forgotten it, or the world has tried to extinguish it, covering it with layers of doubt, fear, and other people's expectations. But it has never disappeared. It has only been buried, silent, waiting for the moment you are brave enough to look back at yourself. I know that feeling well, because I have been through it too. When I was young, I always had a sense that I was not like the people around me. They were satisfied with ordinary things, with safe lives, with a preset path, but not me. In my mind always echoed questions. Why must it be done this way? Why can't it be different? Why accept this limit? Those questions made me feel out of place. I was called a dreamer, arrogant, even insane. But I learned that feeling out of place is not a curse. It is proof that the flame within me was still alive. You too. There are moments when you sit alone, feeling the whole world cannot understand you. You look at the crowd, hear their words, and inside you, a quiet disagreement echoes. You feel as if they are speaking one language, while you carry within you a language no one is willing to hear. That is the flame inside you. It is not loud. It does not need applause. It only needs you to recognize its existence. This flame may once have caused you pain, because living differently means being misunderstood. You may have been told by family, friends, colleagues that you are delusional. You may have asked yourself, what is wrong with me? Why can't I be satisfied with a normal life? But hear me, nothing is wrong. The only thing wrong would be if you denied that flame, because the world does not need another faded copy. The world needs you to live true to your essence. I remember when I started with the idea of reusable rockets. People laughed. They said I was burning money, that I understood nothing about aerospace. But I did not care about the laughter. I cared about the flame pushing me to try, to build, to prove that what seemed impossible could become real. If I had listened to the ridicule, SpaceX would not exist. And if you listen to ridicule, your true life will not exist either. The flame inside you is the reason you always feel restless, living a repetitive life. It is the reason you are never fully satisfied, even if on the outside things look stable. Do not mistake that for unhappiness. In truth, it is a gift, because it reminds you that you have not yet lived to your full potential. It pulls you out of resignation. It urges you into the unknown, the only place you can find the greatest version of yourself. I do not say this lightly. I once lost that flame in the hardest times. There were moments when I was too tired from failure, too exhausted by pressure, too lonely on a journey no one believed in. I thought, maybe they were right. Maybe I've gone too far. But then, in the heavy silence, I still felt a small spark within. It told me that even if everyone else turned their back, there was one person who must not betray me, myself. And I listened to that flame. You too have had such moments. Maybe you stood at a crossroads, wanting to give up, wanting to live like everyone else. But the reason you never truly quit is because that flame never died. It does not allow you to deceive yourself. It does not allow you to live someone else's life. It always whispers, even when you deliberately ignore it. The problem is, this world teaches us to hide that flame. It teaches you to be realistic, to know your place, to fit in. But their reality is not the only reality. Their knowing your place is simply accepting smallness. And fitting in is sometimes just a pretty word for losing your identity. If you let the world extinguish that flame, you will live your whole life in an invisible cage, and I do not want that for you. The flame inside you may be small now, but do not underestimate it. A single spark is enough to push back darkness. What you need to do is not create a new flame, but clear the dust covering it. The dust of fear, prejudice, disappointment. When you do, the flame will ignite itself, and you will realize it never disappeared. You may ask, how do I know I am ready for that flame? The answer is simple. If you are still reading these words, you are ready. The truly extinguished never stay this long. They have already turned away, consoling themselves that life is just like that. But not you. You are still here because a part of you knows that flame is calling. And I want you to believe me, you do not need anyone's permission to ignite it. You do not need to wait for more skills, more money, more approval. All you need is the decision not to ignore it another day. That is the only beginning any personal revolution ever needs. When you dare to listen to that flame, you will see the world change, not because everything out there suddenly becomes better, but because you change how you see how you act. You begin to dare to do what you once only dreamed. You begin to take steps, even trembling ones, and then, step by step, you will realize that flame is the greatest strength you have ever had. You cannot control everything in life, but you can control one thing, whether you let the flame inside you survive or not. And if you choose to let it live, it will take you to places you never dared imagine. No one but you can do that. I can see it, I can confirm it, but I cannot live it for you. You must decide. The flame has been buried too long. Now is the time to light it again. And when you do, the whole world will know you were never ordinary. You are the one who carries fire, and that is why you are here. I do not care where you graduated from. I do not care how many diplomas you have, how many awards, or what your IQ score is, because all those numbers, all those certificates cannot tell the most important thing about a human being, whether you have the ability to awaken yourself or not. I have met countless people with dazzling resumes, impressive IQ scores, prestigious universities, roaring praises. But when put in a situation that required a bold leap, a decision outside their comfort zone, they shrank. They waited for guarantees, for someone to nod, for an open door, and because they waited, they missed it. The world is not changed by such people. The world is changed by those who dare to step forward, even when no map exists. Do not seek minds that know how to memorize formulas. I seek minds that dare to question formulas. I do not seek those skilled at repeating the right answer. I seek those who dare ask the questions no one else dares to ask. That is the difference between knowledge on paper and true creativity. Knowledge can be copied, but inner energy, the drive inside that keeps you from being satisfied with the status quo, cannot be taught, cannot be faked. I call it the inner frequency, a kind of vibration from people who are always restless with reality. They look at the world and see what is missing, not because they are overly ambitious, but because they have the intuition that things can be better and they can be part of that change. When I see someone with this frequency, I do not care where they come from, because I know if placed in the right environment, they will explode with possibilities no one imagined. Remember, I was once the one cast aside. I was the one with nothing but ideas and a belief that not even those closest to me believed. I did not step out of Harvard or MIT with a perfect network to guarantee success. I started with loneliness, with ridicule, with surrounding doubt. But what kept me standing was not grades, but the inner drive that would not let me stop. When I say I do not care about degrees or IQ scores, I do not mean I deny the value of learning. I respect knowledge. I believe in science. I build the future on accuracy. But all those things are just tools. Tools only matter when in the hands of someone who knows how to use them. And those hands do not come from a certificate. They come from a heart steadfast enough not to quit, from a mind bold enough to challenge the impossible. In truth, the people I placed my greatest trust in were not the ones with perfect CVs. They were the unknown engineers, the small founders, the individuals no one remembered, but they carried a different look in their eyes. The look of those who refused to settle. The look of those who had fallen but stood again. Eyes that need no push from others. because they had learned how to self-ignite. You may think you are not smart enough, not skilled enough, not educated enough to change something big. But that is an illusion, because intelligence is not in scores, but in the ability to endure ambiguity. No one is smart enough to know the path ahead with certainty. The one who dares walk is the one who discovers how, and that is real intelligence. I want you to look back at your life and ask yourself, have you never been truly satisfied with just enough? Have you many times told yourself you could do more even when everyone around said you should be content? If you have, that is the sign of the frequency I am talking about. And I say to you, that frequency matters more than any IQ, any diploma. When you have that energy, you do not need reminders. You do not need instant recognition. You will self-start, dive in, learn, adapt, and eventually create results. I have seen such people turn seemingly insane ideas into reality, while the paper smart still sit analyzing risks. So what I want to stress is, you do not need to wait until you have more degrees, more points, more external validation. If you have the inner flame, you already have the essential condition. Everything else can be learned along the journey. This world always tries to make you believe you are not enough, that you must prove yourself with achievements. But the truth is, your actions are the only diploma the future recognizes. I do not care how you are trained. I only care whether you dare to act when nothing is certain. I only care whether you hold on to your truth when the whole world says you are wrong. I only care whether you rise after failure. Those are things no school can grade, but they are the things that make all the difference. You must understand no one is born with everything complete. Even I began with lack, with doubt, with failure. But what took me far was not superior intelligence, but persistence with a voice inside. If you have that voice, then you have what I am looking for. So let go of the question, am I good enough? Replace it with, am I ready? Because skill can be learned, but readiness cannot. And when you are ready, no diploma, no IQ score can compare to the power you carry within. Perhaps inside you the question echoes, why me? Among millions out there, why am I being called? This is not a small question. It is the question of those honest with themselves, those who do not easily accept cheap praise or flattery. And I tell you now, if you are asking why me, that itself is a sign of difference, because most will not ask. They will think they deserve it. They will see attention as entitlement. Why? But not you. You want to understand the reason. And that is exactly what makes you the one I am looking for. I did not choose you because you are perfect. I did not choose you because you already have every condition to start a new journey. In fact, I chose you because you have doubted yourself, have stumbled, have had moments of wanting to quit, but never truly quit. Real strength is not in always being certain, but in moving forward even when uncertain. Why you? Because I feel in you a rare combination, potential and intuition. Potential is the seed, intuition the gardener. One alone is not enough. Some have potential but never dare trust intuition, waiting for outside certainty and ending with life slipping away. Some have intuition but lack patience to grow potential. They flare up, then burn out. But when both exist in one person, when a seed grows under the hand of an awakened intuition, nothing can stop its rise. And I see that in you. Why you? Because you still feel you are not enough. You may think that is weakness, but no. The feeling of not enough is the engine that keeps you learning, searching, rising after each fall. The self-satisfied are already dead in their own process. The one who still wrestles with the thought, I haven't given my all, is the one still alive. And you, clearly, are still alive. Why you? Because you have never settled. You may have gone through years of being underestimated, dismissed, overlooked. But instead of letting it kill your spirit, you turned it into lessons. Others see failure in your past. But I see in it another kind of strength, resilience. The one who has been knocked down but does not stay on the ground is the one I trust. Why you? Because you do not need a push to start moving. I call it the self-starting frequency. Energy that comes from within, from those who do not wait for praise, do not need instant recognition. They act because they know it is right, because they cannot bear stagnation. I have met many more talented than you, more skilled on paper, but they lacked one thing, the ability to awaken themselves, and you have it. Why you? Because in a noisy world you still keep an inner voice. You have not lost it, even in times you wanted to quit. You have not sold your soul to the hollow shells of fame or recognition. And remember, in an era where most live by reflex, the fact that you still think independently is rare. You may think, but I am just an ordinary person, nothing special. I have heard that from people who later became icons. When I met them, they had nothing to boast of. No fame, no position, no resources. But they had one thing, refusal to settle. And I bet on them. I see that same thing in you. Why you? Because you have been wrong, failed, lost, but you still found your way back. The one who has never fallen will shatter at the first obstacle. But you have learned how to rise. You have learned to walk with darkness and still hold a small light. That light endures. That light truly guides. I do not need you to be the best, the smartest, or the most outstanding. I only need you to be the one who does not give up. And what I see in you is this. Even wounded, even scarred, you continue. That is not weakness, but the true definition of strength. Why you? Because you have never stopped dreaming. Even when the world told you to be realistic, you kept a part of you that never stopped seeking something greater, and that makes you different. That is why I cannot ignore you. You can wait a lifetime for someone to come and choose you, but the truth is, the worthy never sit and wait. They step forward. You may not believe it, but the very moment you asked why me was proof. The truly chosen are not those certain of themselves, but those who dare be honest with their doubt and still move forward. So why you? The answer is simple, because you are still asking. You do not take your presence here for granted. You still crave understanding, still crave proving, still crave living true to what you carry inside. That is the reason. And I place my trust in you, not because you are perfect, but because you are different. Not because you are fully ready, but because you are brave enough to admit you are not ready and still go on. That is a strength no one can deny. I know you have failed before. I know there are memories inside you like scars that never fully healed. Maybe it was the time you placed all your trust and were betrayed. The time you poured in all your strength and ended with nothing. The time you thought this would be the chance to change your life, but instead received only ridicule. And sometimes you look at those scars and tell yourself, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe my destiny is only this far. But let me tell you the truth. Your past is not strong enough to block the future you deserve. I was once the one thrown out of class. I was once seen as the misfit, the foolish dreamer. I was once broke, not a penny in my pocket, no one believing in me. I once lived the moment when both Tesla and SpaceX stood at the edge of bankruptcy at the same time. The whole world thought I was finished. If I had believed in the past, if I had let those failures define me, then you would not be hearing me speak today. The only thing that kept me going was a very simple belief. What had happened was only a lesson, not a sentence. The past is a storage room. It holds mistakes, falls, doors that closed, but it has no right to decide where you will go next. Only you can do that. Every failure that once made you think it's over was in truth only a turn. And if you look back, you will see from those turns you learned the most. You learned how to stand up, how to see clearly who was truly beside you, how to tell what is worth pouring your whole effort into, and what was only an illusion. I do not know how many cracks you have endured in your life, but I know one thing for certain. If you are still here, still reading, still listening, then you were never completely broken. You may have been tired, wounded, lost, but you were never defeated. You are still alive, and more importantly, you are still searching. And that very search shows you never accepted letting the past imprison you. There is a truth I want you to carve deep. None of us step into a new future with clean hands. Everyone carries wounds, everyone carries mistakes. But the difference between those who stop and those who break through is this. One lets wounds become chains, the other lets them become fuel. Every pain you endured can either be an excuse to stop or the fire to push forward. That choice always lies in your hands. I chose to turn pain into drive. When rejected, I learned perseverance. When ridiculed, I learned silence and to let results speak. When broke, I learned to create from zero. Without those failures, I would never have built Tesla or SpaceX. And without your own falls, you would never have the sharpness, the resilience you now carry. Never believe that what you did wrong in the past is the reason you cannot do right in the future. Every day is a chance to rewrite. The past is not a chain binding you, it is the ground you launch from. The successful are not those who never failed, but those who never let failure become their final definition. Ask yourself, if everything in the past was preparing you for today, how would you see it differently? Maybe you would no longer see waste. You would see that loss taught you to cherish more. Betrayal taught you to tell where real trust lies. Apparent total failures taught you that you are stronger than you thought. You must understand, what I see in you is not a chain of failures, but a chain of proof of your ability to rise. If you have fallen 10 times and are still here, that is not failure. That is 10 rounds of endurance training. And this world does not need more people who fall easily. It needs those who have been shattered, but kept wholeness in their soul. Let the past do its job, teach you. But do not let it do what is not its job, bind you. Because no mistake is big enough to stop a person determined to go on. No wound is deep enough to stop a heart still longing. No door closes without leaving another path, if you are willing to look. I have many times stood before the choice, let the past decide or decide myself, and I chose the latter. Today, I want you to choose the same. Do not let anyone tell you your past is destiny. The only destiny that exists is the decision you make right now. So do not ask if the past can stop you. The answer is always no. The only thing that can stop you is you if you allow it. And if you do not allow it, nothing can hold you back. You have been through enough to know this truth is not theory, it is experience. And that experience has prepared you for one thing, to step into the future you deserve. The past is only old pages. But the book has many chapters unwritten, and the pen right now is in your hands. There is a truth most people do not want to face, but you need to hear it now. No one is coming to save you. No miracle will fall from the sky. No savior will show up at the right moment to change your whole life. And if you keep waiting for that, you will wait your whole life. This is the hard truth, but it is the one that will free you. I once hoped for the opposite. There were days I was exhausted, failure after failure. I asked myself, when will luck come? When will someone notice me and hand me a chance? But I realized one thing. The more I waited, the more I drowned. And then I understood. No one has the duty to give me an opportunity. If I wanted a door to open, I had to break the wall myself. That is not injustice. That is the rule of the game. You may think the world owes you an explanation, an opportunity, fairness, but the truth is the world owes you nothing. It only gives back what you are brave and determined enough to claim. Harsh as it sounds, within that harshness is absolute fairness. Anyone, no matter where they come from, if they dare step forward, has a chance to change fate. I do not say this to make you despair. On the contrary, I say it so you understand that power is in your hands, not anyone else's. Because when you stop waiting for a rescuing hand, you begin to see your own. And when you know no one is coming to save you, you are forced to become the architect of your own salvation. Look straight at your life. Everything you have until today came from the moments you acted, not the times you waited. No achievement is born from prayer without steps. No dream becomes reality through hope alone. It is the moments you dared to act, trembling, uncertain, that pulled you forward. Another hard truth, you will never feel fully ready, no one ever is, before doing something great. When I invested all my money into Tesla and SpaceX, I was not sure it would succeed. In fact, failure was almost certain, but I did it, because waiting to be ready means never starting. And if I had not started, you would never have heard the name Tesla or SpaceX today. Many around you will say, be careful, wait for a better time, wait for more resources. Sounds reasonable, but it is just another form of delay. The perfect time does not exist. You create the perfect time by starting when things are still imperfect. Only when you walk do you learn how to walk, and only by walking do you make the path. You need to know, action does not mean blind recklessness. It means daring to move even when you cannot see the whole road. Yes, you will face hardship. Yes, you will face failure. But those are proof you are on the right track. If you meet no obstacles, it means you are still standing still, in the comfort zone where nothing changes. Another hard truth, there will be times no one believes in you. No one supports you, no one stands with you. Even those you thought would stay may leave, and you will feel alone. But do not mistake loneliness for failure. It is the stage every great person must go through. In that loneliness, you train the ability to self-ignite. In that lack of support, you learn to hear your inner voice. And when you can do that, you no longer need anyone's permission to start. I know hearing this is not easy, because it takes away the comfort that some miracle will save you. But think, do you want to live your life depending on waiting? Or do you want to live a life where every step proves your own power? The truth may be hard, but it frees you from illusion, and then you can truly step up. How many years have you spent waiting? How many times have you thought, if only? How many opportunities slipped away because you wanted to be surer, more confident, safer? It is time to admit no one holds the key for you. The key is in your hands. And you have held it all along. So, instead of seeking someone to save you, become the one who saves yourself. Instead of hoping for miracles, be the one who makes them. Instead of waiting for the world to hand you opportunities, create them. Because the hard truth, undeniable, is this: no one is coming. And that is exactly why you must step up. Your past cannot stop you. And this truth, harsh as it is the greatest freedom you can ever own. Because once you know you cannot wait, you will not waste another day. You will begin. And once you begin, you will see. This hard truth is, in fact, the greatest gift life has given you. There is a moment in life, and if you are sensitive, you will feel it clearly, the moment you are truly seen. I do not mean the curious glance of a passerby, nor the shallow observation of a crowd. I mean the gaze that touches the deepest part inside you, where lies potential you yourself have never acknowledged. I have lived that moment. When I started with PayPal, with Tesla, with SpaceX, most of the world saw me as crazy. They saw failure, not potential. They looked at the numbers, at the explosions of test launches, and concluded it was all foolish play. But among those doubtful eyes, I also met others. Not many, only a very few. They looked at me not through the lens of success or failure, but through understanding. They recognized I was not chasing the easy, I was seeking the right, and I knew they had truly seen me. The moment you are seen is not when you gain everyone's recognition. It comes when at least one person, sometimes only one, looks through the outer shell and recognizes the real energy you carry. That look is like a mirror, reflecting back the potential you thought was buried. And in that moment you realize you are not invisible. You may have spent years in the dark, feeling like your efforts went unnoticed, as if you were speaking into emptiness. But the truth is, every act you ever did was preparing you for this moment. The moment you step out and someone recognizes your true value. It is not luck. It is the result of you persisting when no one was watching, no praise, sometimes even when you doubted yourself. Remember this, the moment of being seen does not come early, it comes late, very late, and that is why many give up just before it happens. They stop because they think they will never be known, but if they had taken one more step, perhaps right there a door would have opened. The moment you are seen often comes when you are nearly exhausted, when you think all effort is pointless. But trust me, that is the moment when the seed you planted long ago finally breaks open to sprout. When I look at you, I do not see your past. I see what you carry within, not yet fully opened. I see ability, resilience, scars that instead of killing you, made you stronger. That is the sign you are ready for a new level. I do not care how many times the world has ignored you. I care that you are still here, and that is all I need to know you are worth believing in. The moment you are seen is not to make you proud. It is a reminder. From this moment, you no longer have the right to see yourself as small. You have been named. And once light has touched you, you have the responsibility to step out of your own shadow. Your presence now is no longer just for you. It can be a signal, an encouragement for others still waiting for a reason to believe they too can. Understand this. Being seen is not the final reward. It is only the beginning of a new journey where you can never return to your old state. Because once you are recognized, you cannot pretend you have no value. You must act accordingly. This moment is both opportunity and challenge. It asks you, will you dare live true to what others have seen in you? Will you dare prove that gaze was not mistaken? If you are hearing these words, maybe this is your moment. Not because I say so, but because deep down, you know it is time. Time to stop denying, stop belittling, stop excusing. Time to step up and live as if the world truly needs you, because it does. Remember, none of us are seen from the beginning, not even me. But what matters is, you do not need everyone to see you. You only need one moment, one gaze, one acknowledgement at the right time, and when it comes, seize it. Do not let it slip away as coincidence. See it as the starting point of the next chapter. The moment you are seen is not a reward. It is an invitation. An invitation to step into a life where you no longer have permission to play small. And I believe, if you have come this far, if you have listened until this very moment, then you are ready to step into that light. People often tell me they lack motivation, that they want to do something but do not feel enough excitement to begin. They think they need a huge source of inspiration, a special event, a push from the outside to truly act. But let me tell you the truth. You don't need motivation. What you need is confirmation. The confirmation that you are ready, that you have the right to go, that you no longer have to wait for anything. Motivation is fragile. It is like a fire that bursts when you hear an inspiring line, when you watch an emotional movie, or when you see someone succeed. It burns brightly for a moment, then quickly dies when you return to reality. If your life is built on motivation, you will always have to search for the next external energy source. And when it isn't there, you stop again. That makes you dependent. But confirmation is different. Confirmation is not an emotional wave. It is a cold and decisive choice. I will do it. I will go. I will move forward. It doesn't require perfection, doesn't require shining light. It only requires one thing, your agreement with yourself. And once you give that confirmation, you no longer waste time searching for motivation, because your decision itself will drive you forward. When I started Tesla, I didn't have motivation every day. In fact, many days I woke up and felt only exhaustion. I looked at the financial numbers, at the failed tests, at the pressure of public opinion, and saw no reason to continue. If I had relied on motivation, I would have quit the moment the fire of inspiration went out. But what kept me was not motivation, it was confirmation. I confirmed to myself, no matter how hard, I will still do it. No matter the failures, I will still go. And that confirmation held me until success arrived. Look back at your own life. There were times you waited for motivation to start, and you never started. But there were also times you simply said, enough, I will do it. And then you did, even without any inspiration. What made the difference? Not motivation, it was confirmation. Confirmation is when you look straight at yourself and stop saying, I'll try, or I'll give it a shot. Instead, you say, I will do it. There is a huge difference between trying and doing. Trying still leaves the door open to retreat. Doing means you've removed the retreat, placed everything into one decision, and once you choose do, a new path begins to open. I don't care how much motivation you have. Motivation comes and goes like the wind, but I care whether you dare to confirm. Confirm that you are no longer your old version. Confirm that you no longer accept repeating the past. Confirm that you are worthy of a bigger life. That is the real turning point. People will tell you to wait for inspiration, wait for belief, wait until you are ready. But the truth is, if you wait, you will wait forever. Confirmation doesn't wait. It requires decisiveness right now. And once you confirm, all subsequent actions will arrange themselves. You'll be surprised to see that the decision itself unleashes energy you thought you never had. Understand this. Motivation is like a temporary friend, coming and going. Confirmation is like a lifelong companion. Once you shake its hand, it never leaves you. Confirmation is what turns an idea into reality, a dream into a project, an ordinary person into the unstoppable. And the beauty is this. Confirmation demands nothing from you but one resolute statement. It doesn't need perfection, doesn't need certainty, doesn't need all the answers. It only needs you to agree to move, even when you can't see the full road. Remember, I'm not successful because I was always inspired. I'm successful because I learned how not to need motivation. I only needed confirmation again and again until the impossible became possible. So if you are waiting for a new source of motivation to change your life, stop. You don't need it. You just need to look in the mirror and say to yourself, I confirm, I will move forward. And when you do, everything else will begin to shift. Not because motivation pushes you, but because you chose not to turn back. The moment you confirm is the moment you become unstoppable, not because you know you will win, but because you have decided failure no longer has power over you. And when a person reaches that state, nothing on earth can hold them back. If you think I'm looking to hire someone, you are mistaken. This is not a job offer, not a career door opening to give you some safe position. This is a wake-up call. Because what I am telling you now has nothing to do with jobs, titles, or salaries. It has to do with your life and how you are living it. I have met thousands of people, and there's one terrifying common trait. Most of them live as if waiting for someone to hand them an opportunity. They let their lives slip away in that waiting. Waiting for an invitation, waiting for a door, waiting for someone to tap their shoulder and say, this is your time. But hear this clearly, no one is coming. No one has that duty. And if you do not wake yourself, you will wait until death. What I am doing here is not recruiting, but shaking you awake. Because I see too clearly you are standing before a crossroads you may not even realize. This crossroads has no signpost, no guide, only you and yourself. One side is to keep living as you are, safe, familiar, predictable. The other is an uncertain road, risky, but it is the place you can break through. The problem is you are used to seeing life with the eyes of an employee waiting for orders, not as a builder of the future. Understand this. Life never hires you. It only tests you. The crises, the failures, the losses you endured were not because fate hated you. They were tests to see if you are ready to rise and declare yourself. And if you see them only as chains of unfairness, you will miss the bigger message. They were invitations to become a completely different version of yourself. When I built SpaceX, the world did not welcome me with wreaths and drums. On the contrary, it threw failure after failure, test launches exploding, mocking headlines. If I had thought those were rejection, I would have quit. But I understood it was not rejection, it was a test. A wake-up call that if I was truly serious, I had to become tougher than any pain. And I chose to go on, not because anyone hired me, but because I knew no other path was worthy of me. You too. I'm not speaking to you as a recruiter. I'm speaking as a mirror. Because I see in you one thing. You are not living your full potential. You may be used to stable routines, to just enough safety, to small compliments, but deep down you know it is not enough. You haven't reached your true limit. And if you keep going, one day you will look back and realize you lived below your given capacity. That is the greatest tragedy. Ask yourself, are you living like someone hired just to do the daily job, or like someone daring to build their future? If you only work, earn, repeat, you are letting life hire you into a safe but meaningless role. But if you dare ask, what can I create? How can I change this world? That is when you step out of the role of life's employee to become the true owner of your life. I want you to see this moment not as a career opportunity, but as a mirror. A wake-up call that if you keep sleeping in comfort, you will lose your one chance to erupt. I don't need more people in my team, but the world needs more who dare to wake, who dare to reject mediocrity. You don't need someone to sign a contract with you. What you need is to sign a contract with yourself. A contract that you will not live as a waiter anymore. A contract that you will not let fear or doubt pull you back. A contract that you will live as if every day is the greatest test and you will overcome. This is not recruitment. This is a wake-up call. And I'm telling you right now, do not confuse the two. Because if you see it as recruitment, you will sit waiting for an offer, an official letter. But if you see it as a wake-up call, you will act right now in this moment. Because you understand no one else is coming to call your name. Only you and your decision. So drop the idea that you need someone to choose you. You don't need recruitment. You need awakening. And once you are truly awake, you will see you are not applying for a place in some team. You are building the very path the world will be forced to acknowledge. There is one mistake many make. They believe only when they feel fully confident, fully certain, should they begin. They wait until fear disappears, until trembling stops, until everything is clear. But if you wait, you will never go. Because the truth is, no one starts without trembling. I remember the early days of SpaceX, when everything was just a crazy idea. Each time before a test launch, my heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. I knew the probability of failure was extremely high, and the whole world was waiting to see us blow up again. But I still acted, not because I wasn't afraid, but because I accepted that fear would always come along. And you need to know this. Action is not the absence of fear. Action is stepping forward even while fear is screaming in your head. Trembling is not the enemy. It is a sign you are standing before something important. If you do something with no worry, no heartbeat changed, it is only something safe with no power to change you. But if your heart races, hands shake, breath shortens, that is proof you are stepping out of the comfort zone. And only outside the comfort zone will you find your true self. I don't care how much you tremble. What I care is whether you dare to step while still trembling. Because that is the defining moment. People admire confidence, but the truth is, confidence only comes after action. No one has it naturally. People become confident after many times trembling, yet moving forward, many times falling, yet rising. Look at any great achievement in history, inventions, explorations, revolutions. Do you think those people did not tremble? They feared failure, ridicule, losing everything, but they acted, and it was acting amidst fear that made them different. Trembling does not kill you, standing still does. Every day you delay out of fear is a day you lose your one chance. You think waiting until you stop fearing makes sense, but in reality, fear won't leave until you start. Action is the cure for fear, not waiting. End quote. I have trembled many times. When my money was nearly gone, when huge projects stood at bankruptcy's edge, when everyone believed I would fail, I still acted. I didn't know for sure success would come, but I knew one thing. If I stood still, I would surely fail. If I moved, even trembling, I still had a chance. And that chance was enough to fight to the end. Engrave this. Action doesn't need perfection, only presence. You don't need all the answers, you just need the first step. From that step, new doors open. But if you stand at the threshold waiting until trembling ends, you will stand there forever. Remember, everything great begins in trembling. A child trembles when learning first steps. A singer trembles before their first performance. An entrepreneur trembles when signing the first contract. But those trembling steps create growth, and so it is with you. So do not see trembling as a stop sign, see it as an invitation. It says you are on the right path, about to touch what matters. Step forward, even if your hands shake, your voice cracks, your heart doubts. Because every time you do, you rewrite your definition of yourself. I am living proof. I was not always strong, not always confident, but I learned to act, even while trembling. And that is what made the difference between me and millions who still stand still. Deputy WHO. Dr. Eli, ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered? As the one who waited all life for trembling to stop, or the one who trembled but still stepped and left an unerasable mark? The answer is in your hands, and you know well, the time to wait has ended. How many times in your life have you asked yourself this question? Why me? Perhaps you asked it in moments of hardship, when life cornered you, when failure followed failure, when others moved forward while you were left behind. But today, I want you to look straight at that question from a different angle. Why you? Not in the sense of complaint, but in the sense of choice. I have observed millions of people, and there is one obvious truth. The majority live their whole lives without ever awakening. They are swept into the familiar cycle: study, work, earn a living, wait for holidays, then repeat. They live safely, but never touch their true potential. And among those millions, only a very small number feel in their hearts a strange calling, urging them to go further, do more, become more. You are one of those few. That is the very answer to why you. When I was young, I also wondered, why must I carry challenges that others don't? Why do I feel compelled to change the world when I could live peacefully like everyone else? But then I understood. That compulsion was not random. It was a sign. It proved that a part of me was designed to go further than the ordinary. And I believe the same is true for you. Why you? Because you are the one who carries the sign. You are the one who sees injustices that others have grown blind to. You are the one who cannot rest with mediocrity. You are the one who always feels a void inside that money, comfort, or fame cannot fill. That void can only be filled when you live true to your mission. I know you have thought yourself small, that this world is too vast while you are just a grain of sand. But I want you to understand that your smallness is an advantage. When I started, I was just an unknown young man with no power, no resources. But it was precisely that anonymity that freed me. No chains, no boundaries, no pressure to conform to existing molds. And that is why I could dream wild dreams like conquering Mars. Why you? Because you can endure more than you think. Look back. Everything you've been through, the wounds, the losses, the moments you thought you could never rise again, yet here you are. You may not realize it, but each challenge was like a training session. It forged you so that today, when opportunity knocks, you are strong enough to step in. I do not believe in randomness. I believe the universe operates by subtle principles, and the fact that you are here, reading these words, is not a coincidence. It is the result of thousands of choices, millions of steps, countless falls and risings, all converging to bring you to this exact moment. If you still doubt, look back. How many times did you think it was the end, yet somehow you made it through? That was not for survival alone, but to make you strong enough for a greater mission. Why you? Because you have been prepared for a long time. Perhaps you cannot see it clearly, but every event, every person, every experience in your life has contributed to this readiness. Like a sophisticated machine, each part, each gear was installed so that at the right moment it runs perfectly. You are that machine, and this moment is when the switch is turned on. When I say you, I am not speaking to some faceless crowd. I am speaking directly to you, the one listening now, the one whose heartbeat is racing, the one who realizes these words are not just letters but confirmation. Because deep inside, you know this is true. You know you are not like the masses. You know you are called to something greater, and if you still ask, why me? The answer is, because you are already enough to begin. Do not think you must be perfect to be chosen. No. You are chosen not because you are perfect, but because you are different. You are chosen not because you have everything, but because you dare to start with what you have. And when you dare to step forward, it is precisely that imperfection that becomes strength. Because it forces you to learn, to grow, to endure. Listen carefully, why you? Because if not you, then who? If not now, then when? If you are reading these words, then the question is no longer why me, but what will I do with this truth? I want you to engrave this. You are not here to live like everyone else. You are here to step out, to become living proof for those still doubting themselves. You are here to do the things others call crazy, but which will change the world. And one day, when you look back, you will smile because you will finally understand the real answer. Why you? Because you dared. There is one quality that defines the difference between those who merely survive and those who truly break through, and that quality is resilience. Not intelligence, not resources, not luck, but the ability to keep moving forward even when everything seems to collapse. If you look back at your journey, you will see clearly that it was resilience that kept you standing until today, not any favorable condition. When I was building Tesla, there was a time when the company was only days away from bankruptcy. Money was gone, investors withdrew, the public mocked. If I had sat down and admitted defeat, perhaps the story would have ended there. But I did not. I chose resilience. I chose to take one more step, even though each step felt like walking on a blade. And it was precisely those desperate steps that opened the door of survival, allowing Tesla to become what it is today. Resilience is not about not feeling pain. On the contrary, it is the ability to keep going while pain still lingers. People often think success means overcoming pain, but the truth is, success comes when you learn to walk with it. You do not hide, you do not deny, you let it become fuel, and you keep moving. Look at yourself. You have fallen, you have lost, you have stood at dead ends that seem to have no way out. Yet you are still here. What does that mean? It means within you lies a resilience you may not even recognize. You think you are weak, but the truth is, if you were truly weak, you would not still be here. You are still alive, still moving, still searching. That is the clearest proof of your resilience. Resilience is not a luxury. It is mandatory if you want to reach anything great. Because this world will not roll out a red carpet to welcome you. It will test you, hurt you, crush your hopes many times, and each time you will face a choice: quit or continue. The resilient choose to continue, not because they are not tired, but because they know only by continuing do they still have a chance. I never believed that IQ or degrees determine a person's destiny. I have met too many intelligent people who collapsed at the first challenge, and I have also met ordinary people, even underestimated, who rose strongly thanks to resilience. Intelligence may open doors, but resilience is what helps you walk through them. Your resilience is the one weapon this world can never take from you. Wealth may be lost, jobs may vanish, relationships may break, but resilience, the ability to rise after every fall, remains indestructible. And it is precisely this that makes you unbeatable. There is a truth few dare to admit. You do not need to avoid failure, you need failure, because only failure activates resilience. If your life were all smooth, you would never know how much you can endure. But every time you stumble and still rise, you prove to yourself that your strength is greater than you thought. Remember all those times you thought you could not go on, yet you did. Remember those moments you thought it was the end, yet it turned out to be only a comma. All of those have built the resilience within you today. And the wonderful thing is, resilience only grows stronger with use. Every challenge you overcome makes you tougher for the next. I want you to understand, resilience not only helps you survive, it helps you reach heights others will never touch. Because most quit too soon. They surrender at the first difficulty. But you, if you choose resilience, you will go farther than all, simply because you are still standing when others have left the game. When the world looks at you, they may not see outstanding intelligence or talent right away. But if they see resilience, they will understand you are a force not to be underestimated. Because nothing can stop a resilient person from achieving what they want. They will fail many times, but failure cannot hold them down. And one day, the world will have no choice but to acknowledge them. So the question is not whether you are resilient, the question is whether you dare to acknowledge that strength and use it. You have proven resilience many times already. The issue is, will you live with it as an inseparable part of yourself, or will you keep denying it for temporary comfort? Face the truth, you are not as weak as you think. You have been forged through enough trials to become who you are today. And if you continue, your resilience will open doors you never even dared to dream of. There are things in life you cannot see but can feel, like radio waves, electric fields, or gravity. They exist and influence everything around us. Willpower is the same. It has its own frequency, and when you step into that frequency, the whole world begins to change its response to you. This is not mystical. This is reality, because the frequency of willpower is the state you emit when you are steadfast, unshaken, and unwilling to accept any excuse to quit. I have lived my entire life on that frequency. When people looked at me and laughed at the idea of sending humanity to Mars, when they called Tesla a delusion, I did not need to persuade them with long speeches. What I emitted was not words, but a decisive energy. I will do it. And when you emit such a frequency, the world is forced to pay attention. At first it may resist you, but then it will adjust to your rhythm. You must understand one thing. Willpower is not just inner strength to endure. It is a signal you send outward. When you are steadfast, when you stand firm amidst trials, others will feel it. They may not understand with reason, but their hearts know you are not easily shaken, and that alone makes the difference. People follow you not because you have all the answers, but because they feel your frequency of willpower that makes them believe somehow you will find the way. The frequency of willpower does not appear when you say, I will try. It only appears when you say, I will do it at all costs. Hesitation, doubt, retreat all emit weak frequencies, making others doubt you easily and making you doubt yourself. But when you step into absolute determination, when you accept that there is no way back, that is when you touch the true frequency. And that frequency has a strange power. It attracts opportunities, allies, even enemies, but none can ignore you. But I want you to think about the times in your life when you were truly determined to do something. Wasn't it true that no matter how hard things were, everything began to align in inexplicable ways? Unexpected people appeared to help, doors once closed cracked open. That was not random luck. That was because you emitted the frequency of willpower, and the universe responded by bringing the right elements to you. Willpower is not something you use in fleeting moments. It is a continuous state, like a magnetic field around you, and the longer you maintain it, the stronger it grows. The problem is, most people only turn on this frequency for a few hours, a few days, then let it fade when hardships last too long. But if you want to truly change your life, you must learn to keep that frequency on, no matter what happens outside. When I talk about willpower, I am not talking about blind stubbornness. I am talking about purposeful determination, perseverance tied to vision. If you lack vision, your willpower is only obstinacy. But if you have a clear goal, willpower becomes an endless energy source, creating attraction and resonance, and when you live in this frequency, you realize you do not need to prove yourself to anyone. Your presence itself is proof. You have already emitted this frequency, even if you never named it. When you rose after what seemed your final failure, when you protected your dream while everyone opposed, when you kept going even as tears were still on your cheeks, in those moments, you sent out a powerful signal, I will not fall. And the world responded by opening new paths for you. So the question is not whether you have willpower, the question is whether you are willing to maintain that frequency every day. Because if you only emit it when things are easy, it will change nothing. But if you keep it alive in the harshest times, that is when the entire world must adjust to you. I want you to engrave this. The frequency of willpower is not for the masses. It is for those willing to bear, willing to go to the end, willing to become proof that humans can go beyond imagined limits. You are standing before a choice. Either keep living with the weak frequency of hesitation, or switch on the powerful frequency of willpower and let the world feel you. I chose that frequency long ago, and it carried me to places where criticism, failures, and closed doors could not stop me. Now the only question left is, will you dare to choose it for yourself? Because when you truly emit the frequency of willpower, you no longer just live your own life, you become a resonance, inspiring others, pulling them into your orbit, and together you create what the world once called impossible. The modern world glorifies speed. People want success in a few months, wealth in a few years, recognition instantly. But the brutal truth is this: nothing great can be built in the blink of an eye. Lasting achievements are forged from patience and persistence, two qualities most people neglect because they are too impatient to see immediate results. I understand this better than anyone. SpaceX did not succeed after its first launch. Tesla was not profitable in its early years, and I was not lucky by some random chance. Every step forward, every accomplishment, was paid for with time, with patience to endure criticism, failure, even humiliation. If I had quit just because I wanted quick results, perhaps today no one would remember my name. Patience does not mean passivity. It is not sitting idly waiting for miracles. Patience is the ability to keep planting seeds, keep nurturing, keep holding faith even when the soil shows no sign of sprouting. The impatient dig up their seeds every day to check if they've grown, and that very restlessness kills them. The patient know that every great process takes time, and they honor that process. And what is persistence? Persistence is the strength to sustain patience through years, not just days or weeks. It is the ability to rise again and again, even when you are exhausted, even when no one is cheering for you. Persistence is when you keep walking a path no one believes in, because you know what you pursue is greater than temporary acceptance from others. When Tesla constantly faced financial crises, there were times I had to choose: either let the company go bankrupt or pour in everything I had left. Others called it reckless, but for me, it was persistence. I knew that if I quit, all past efforts would vanish, and I would rather be drained, rather be called insane, than live with the feeling that I surrendered while the dream was still unfinished. You must accept one truth: every path has a dark stretch, where you see no results, where you do not know if you are heading the right way. That is the stage that tests your patience and persistence. People usually give up right there, just a few steps away from success. But if you are patient enough to endure the uncertainty, persistent enough not to turn aside, you will be the one to see the light at the end of the road. You will be the one to see the light at the end of the road. Patience teaches you how to control yourself. Persistence teaches you how to control destiny. When the two combine, you become an almost unstoppable force. The impatient are easily swayed by the temptation of quick results. The non-persistent easily give up when the road gets tough. But those who hold both patience and persistence cannot be defeated. Think of a small stream flowing day after day, year after year. It does not have explosive power at once, but eventually it carves through even the hardest rock. That is the image of patience and persistence. The world may look down on you, may mock you, may block you, but if you keep going, if you maintain your own rhythm, one day the world will have no choice but to make way. I do not deny that in today's age patience is difficult. You are surrounded by images of quick success, stories of overnight wealth, promises of getting rich in 30 days, but most are illusions. The reality is, to build something lasting, you must patiently accept that there will be times no one understands you, no one acknowledges you. You must persist, even when all that's left is you and your dream. I want you to remember this: patience gives you the strength to wait. Persistence gives you the strength to walk. Together, they give you the power to create the future. Anyone can be enthusiastic for a short time, but only the patient and persistent can finish the journey. When you feel tired, remind yourself, what you do today is not for immediate results, but to plant seeds for tomorrow. When you feel tested, remember, every time you persist and overcome, you are storing strength for the next challenge. And one day, that very patience and persistence will be what makes you different, what places you where the majority will never reach. I am proof that this is true. No willpower lasts long without patience and persistence, and if I could do it, you can too. Because within you lies the same frequency, waiting only for you to activate and sustain it to the end. Have you ever asked yourself who you truly are in this world? Not your name, not your title, not the labels society has stuck on you. I am asking about the core, the essence within, the role you were born to carry, Most people live their entire lives without ever touching this question. They live like shadows, doing what others expect, and end their journey without ever discovering the true meaning of their own existence. But if you are listening to me now, it means that question has come to you, and it will not leave until you answer. I once stood before that question. As a boy, I asked myself, why do I exist? What is my role? The answer did not come immediately. It tormented me for years. I tried many things, failed many times, and at moments it seemed meaningless. But I realized it was the search itself that defined me. I could not accept living without leaving a trace, a certain impact, and from that moment I understood I was born to alter the course of humanity, even if that meant others called me insane. So who are you in this world? You cannot answer that question by looking into the past or listening to prejudice. You can only answer by looking into the deepest desire of your heart, the thing you cannot stop thinking about, the thing that keeps you awake at night, the thing that, even when you try to deny it, keeps returning stronger. That is the signal of your role. Do not think you must become famous or a great figure to matter. Your role could be anything: building, creating, healing, leading, or simply becoming a light in a corner no one notices. But whatever it is, this world is incomplete without you fulfilling it. Your presence, your actions, your choices, all contribute to the grand symphony we call humanity. You may think, but I am too small. Remember, I was once small too. No power, no name, no assets. But I did not ask, do I have enough conditions? I asked, am I willing to pay the price? Because in the end, who you are in this world is not determined by where you started, but by how far you dare to go, how long you dare to stand, how firmly you dare to hold what you believe. You must face the truth. If you do not define who you are, the world will do it for you. And the world usually only cares about turning you into a safe, obedient, controllable copy. They will tell you your dreams are unrealistic, that you should settle for what is given, that you are not good enough, not smart enough, not qualified enough. And if you believe that, you will remain only a shadow in someone else's play. But if you dare to stand and say, I know who I am, then even the world itself must adjust to reflect you. Here is a point you must engrave. You are not random. Your presence on this planet at this time is not coincidence. It is the result of billions of connected events, of an entire flow of history, and you are here because you carry a piece of that grand picture. If you refuse to live true to it, the picture will lack an irreplaceable piece. I once thought that if I did not pursue this mission, someone else would. But the truth is, no one can do the part tied to you. They may try, but it will never be the same, because you carry a frequency, a perspective, an experience unique to you. And that is exactly why you must answer the question, who are you in this world? I do not care how old you are, where you came from, how many failures you've endured. As long as you are breathing, you still have the chance to redefine yourself. The question, who are you, is not answered only once in a lifetime. It changes, it develops, it expands with you. The important thing is that you never stop asking, never stop searching, never accept letting others write the answer for you. Who are you in this world? The answer is not in what you say, but in what you dare to do. It appears in the choices you make when no one watches, in how you face trials, in whether you have enough patience and persistence to finish the journey. And when you dare to live fully with it, you will not only know who you are. There is one truth many people always try to avoid. You are responsible for your own life, not your parents, not society, not circumstances, you. Every choice, every action, every time you decide to rise or to quit, all lay the bricks of the road you are walking. People may give you opportunities or take them away, but no one can live this life for you. And if you do not take that responsibility, you will drift along the flow of others, living like a passenger on your own ship of life. I understood this very early. When I decided to leave South Africa, move to the US with a vague dream of technology and space, I had nothing in hand except the belief that I must be responsible for my future. I could not wait for a government, a system, or someone else to prepare the road. If I wanted change, I had to build it myself. And that responsibility was both a burden and my greatest source of strength. What does responsibility mean? It means you no longer blame. No more excuses like, if I were born elsewhere, if I had a better family, if I had more luck. Such justifications may ease you momentarily, but they will not change destiny. When you dare to admit everything in my life today is the result of my choices, you start regaining power. Because if you created your current reality, you can also create another. But responsibility does not stop with yourself. If you have ability, if you have vision, you also have responsibility to this world. I believe wealth, success, or intelligence are not meant to be kept to yourself, but to be used as tools to create value. When I built Tesla, the goal was not just to create an electric car company, but to transform the whole industry. To reduce dependence on fossil fuels. When I pursued SpaceX, it was not just about rockets, but about responsibility for humanity's future. To give humankind the chance to become an interplanetary civilization. You too, your role may be different, but the responsibility is the same. Live not only for yourself. This world is waiting for your contribution, and if you avoid it, if you live only to exist, you are not only abandoning your own potential, but also depriving the world of what it needs from you. I know responsibility sounds heavy. It is not like a romantic dream or lofty ideal. It is a burden. It demands you stand even when you want to give up. But within that burden, you find meaning. Those who avoid responsibility may live more comfortably in the short term, but they will always lack fulfillment. On the contrary, those who dare to carry responsibility often suffer more, but they live a life worth remembering. I want you to look straight at yourself and ask, how are you living? Are you avoiding your responsibility, or are you truly standing to carry it? Because in the end, this world does not need more people who only demand, only complain. This world needs people who dare to take responsibility, and you can be one of them. Do not wait until everything is perfect to accept responsibility. Circumstances will never be perfect. The timing will never be right. You must begin from exactly where you are, with what you have, and from there create change. I once stepped into industries where I had no advantage, no support, but I carried the responsibility. If I did not do it, perhaps no one would. And that responsibility gave me the strength not to quit. You must understand that responsibility comes with freedom. Those who do not dare to take responsibility remain victims forever. But when you dare to accept responsibility, you become free, because you know your destiny lies in your hands. And nothing is stronger than that feeling. I am the author of my life story. So from today, stop looking for excuses. Start by accepting the truth. You are both the cause and the solution of your life. Responsibility is not a burden to fear, but the greatest honor you can take. It turns you from a drifter into a creator, and only those who dare to carry responsibility leave a mark in this world. I chose that path, and I know it is hard, but if I had to live again, I would still choose it, because it is the only way to live fully. And now, the question is, will you dare to choose it? There is one point where most people get stuck. They know they need to change. They know what needs to be done, but they stop at thought. They draw up plans, they talk about dreams, they even convince themselves that they are preparing. But the world does not change because of ideas that never turn into action. The world only changes when someone decides to do right now. I have witnessed this throughout my life. When people ask me, why are you so reckless? Why don't you wait for a better time? My answer was always very clear: the right time will never come. If I had waited, Tesla would not exist. If I had waited, SpaceX would never have launched a single rocket. If I had waited, those dreams would have remained forever in imagination. I acted not because I knew for sure I would win, but because I knew for sure that if I did not act, I would lose. This is what you must engrave. Action does not require you to be absolutely ready. Action only requires you to dare to step forward even while fear still trembles inside. You will never have enough knowledge, enough experience, enough resources from the beginning. But you can start with what you already have. And it is only when you act that you learn what you lack, that you discover resources you did not yet have. that you build the confidence which before was only vague. The moment of action is the moment that turns a dream into reality. Before you do, it is only an idea in your mind. But the instant you start, even if only the first step, you have already changed the trajectory of your life. You are no longer in the same place. And no matter how small that step is, it has brought you closer to the point where the majority only stand watching from afar. I remember vividly the first day my SpaceX team and I tried to launch Falcon 1. The first 3 times all failed. Money, reputation, trust, nearly everything was exhausted. But there was one thing I never did: stop. I knew that if the 4th time failed, we might never have another chance. But if I did not act, if I gave up, then everything was already doomed. The only choice to keep the dream alive was to keep acting. And that 4th time changed everything. You see, action is not just physical labor. It is a declaration. It sends a message to the world and to yourself. I am serious about this. You can say 1,000 times that you want change, but with just one real action, everything shifts. And the world only responds to action, never to empty words. You may think you need motivation to act, but the truth is the opposite. Action creates motivation. When you begin, even imperfectly, you create a flow. Each small step sparks the energy to make the next step easier. But if you wait for motivation, you will wait forever. The moment of action is not tomorrow, not when everything stabilizes, not when you feel ready. It is right now. Because only the